Hello and welcome to Conversations. I'm Robin Torres, your host. Our guest today is Dr. Ray Daniels. Dr. Daniels is an educator. He's been a teacher, vice principal, director of personnel, assistant superintendent, and from 1998 to 2005, Dr. Daniels was superintendent of the Kansas City, Kansas School District. He retired from the school district, but not from community service. Dr. Daniels is now chairman of the Kansas City, Kansas Community College Board of Trustees. He also serves on various boards and has received numerous awards, including Superintendent of the Year, Kansas City Young Audiences Educator of the Year, Kansas PTA Educator of the Year, and many, many more. In 2005, right here at Kansas City, Kansas Community College, he was inducted into the Mid-American Education Hall of Fame. We are pleased to have Dr. Daniels with us today. Thank you, Dr. Daniels, and welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. Looking forward to the conversation.
Well, good. You have a rich history here with Kansas City, Kansas.
Yes, I do.
Since 1965, but you're not from here. So tell us about where you come from.
Yeah, I actually was born in a little town in Texas, but grew up in Salina in central Kansas, and went to school at Kansas State University and just sort of migrated into Kansas City, Kansas, but had a really good childhood growing up in Salina. It's a great place to grow up, and but we're really happy that we've been in Kansas City, Kansas for 41 years or so now.
Right. Now you are into education. Started teaching in 65. Yeah. What led you to that career field?
Well, I actually started out to be an engineer. When I graduated from high school in 1960, if I don't remember, that was the time that Sputnik was going, and all young men were supposed to be engineers to serve their country. So I went to K-State to be an engineer and just hated it. Figured out real quickly, number one, I wasn't good in math, and I wasn't good in science, so that kind of took engineering out. And I started thinking about what I enjoyed doing, and I enjoyed reading, I enjoyed writing, and I really enjoyed athletics. I had participated in athletics in high school, and I was on a scholarship at K-State in athletics, and so I thought, teaching might be a good way to go.
What
sport?
What sport did you play?
I ran track at K-State. Yes.
All right. Okay, so you come to Kansas City, Kansas.
Right.
And you immediately start teaching at one of the junior high schools.
Right, Northwest Junior High. They were still junior highs at that time, later became middle schools. My wife and I actually, kind of a strange story, did not want to come to Kansas City, Kansas.
Okay.
We actually wanted to go back to Texas and work there. So we applied in a lot of districts in Texas, and my wife was a French teacher, and I think every district we interviewed in offered her a job. Nobody offered me a job.
Okay.
And so we thought, well, let's go to Kansas City, Kansas, and we'll spend a couple years, and then we'll get back to Texas. So we came here. I was at Northwest Junior High School. My wife was at Wyandotte, and we just fell in love with the place. We loved the kids. We loved the staff. We loved the community. And so 50 years later or so, here we are still in Kansas City, Kansas, and we haven't regretted it one moment.
Tell me about that first teaching assignment at Northwest.
Taught English to 8th graders. It was a real eye-opener for me. I had actually done my student teaching in Junction City with 9th graders, but it was 8th grade assignment, and I probably learned more than the kids did that year.
Right.
It was a great opportunity for me to grow as a teacher, and I was doing some coaching in basketball and track. And again, I just found the kids to be receptive, friendly. I liked the staff. It was a good place to work and a good place to begin.
Okay. Does it look the same? Have you been by there?
Yeah, it's changed. Number one, to a middle school.
Right.
At that time, it was grades 7, 8, and 9, and now it's 6, 7, and 8. It's now a science math magnet program with an emphasis on science and math. The student body is similar as it was then, although I think they have probably more Hispanic students now than we had when I was there. I don't remember if we had any Hispanic students at that time. It was all African American and Caucasian kids. Okay. But now I think they have a pretty large Hispanic population. Otherwise, it's a good school, and they're doing good things.
Okay. Your second assignment, you transferred to Wyandotte High School.
Right.
And what year was that?
1968.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually went there. I was named the head track coach at Wyandotte, which, frankly, I have to tell you, was a huge surprise to me because I was just coaching junior high school track, and I received this assignment to be the head track coach at Wyandotte. So I went to Wyandotte, started out teaching sophomore English because Wyandotte at that time was 10, 11, and 12. And I remember getting to Wyandotte and had all these students in my classes from Northwest, and they were all saying, "Why are you here? You know,
Right.
how'd you show up here? We thought we left you at Northwest." It was interesting that I went from 10th grade, ended up teaching seniors 3 years later, so I had those same students, a group of students there 2 of the 3 years they were at Wyandotte, and 2 of the 3 years they were at Northwest.
Right.
Made some great relationships with kids.
Wyandotte is historic in and of itself. The building is beautiful. I worked at Wyandotte High School for a year. Loved it. The whole, I mean, everything, the structure is beautiful. But they're also historic in other ways, and their historic basketball coach was there
Yes.
while you were there.
Yes.
Tell me about your interactions with him.
Well,
And we're talking about, what was his name? I'm sorry.
Walt Schublum.
Walt Schublum, that's right.
Wyandotte was a really unique place at that time for basketball. I think it's been said that they won more state championships than any school in the country. Walt just had a wonderful record. He was, I can't remember how many state championships he won. He won a number in a row. He had undefeated seasons. He had a number of players go from his team's success in college, and some even went on to success as pros. Walt was just a very demanding, high-energy coach that had high expectations for his players. And he was a good teacher. He taught social studies and had high expectations there too. So it was fun working for Walt. I actually, the last couple of years he was there, I was the official scorer. So I got to travel with the team and saw all their games, and it was an exciting time to be a part of that program at Wyandotte.
I had a 7th grade teacher, Maxine Drew, and she used to talk about her brother a lot,
Yeah.
Larry Drew. Was he there when you were there?
Larry was there when I was there, and was you could tell when he was a sophomore that he was going to be a special player. And by the time he was a senior, of course, he was All-State. Was one of those players that just come along once in a while, a very unique player. But he had some really good teammates. I remember John Wayne. John and Larry ran the best fast break maybe Wyandotte's ever had. John ended up being a patrolman here in Kansas City, Kansas, in the police force.
Okay.
Larry, of course, went on to Missouri and started in Missouri, and then went on to the pros. And you're probably aware now he's the coach of the Atlanta Hawks in the NBA. Right. So Larry's been very successful. It was really a pleasure to watch him grow and watch his success.
That's great. And you were there.
I was there and saw it all, and but saw a lot of really good players that went on to be successful.
Right. You were at Wyandotte 7 years or 5?
7.
7 years.
7 years.
Okay. Yeah. And you wanted to move to administration.
Yeah, it was interesting. I loved Wyandotte. I still say probably the best 7 years I had in education was at Wyandotte. It was such a unique school, not just the architecture and the historic value of the building, but just the student body, the staff that was there at the time, the support we had from the community. Really a great place to work. But I was in Texas visiting relatives in the summer, and I received a call from the principal of the school, Tom Rohn, and told me he wanted me to become the assistant principal of the school and athletic director. It took me aback, and I wasn't sure I wanted to do that because I was really enjoying teaching and coaching. I had never really thought about administration. I'd really thought maybe counseling was the way I would go. But I decided that, an opportunity and I would do it, and so I became the assistant principal and athletic director and had a great career doing that, and really enjoyed my time in that capacity.
Assistant principal. Okay. Well, we're going to take a break right now, and we're going to come back and we're going to finish our conversation with Dr. Ray Daniels, and we'll be right back.
Flying at 600 miles per hour and turning 9 times the force of gravity is one of the most amazing things I've ever done. I'm Heath Voss, Supercross racer. Whether you want to fly at the speed of sound or hit a jump on a dirt bike and fly 50 feet in the air, you have to work hard, stay focused, and make some tough choices to accomplish your goals. Make the right choices today and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
thank you for being with us again. And we're still here with Dr. Ray Daniels from the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Thanks again
Now
for having me.
let's finish talking about your assistant principal now at Wyandotte High School.
Yeah,
What was the main job or the main meat of that position?
Well, unfortunately, assistant principals get to do a lot of discipline work, and so a lot of that was working with students who were having problems in classroom behavior or whatever. But I also had the opportunity, a couple of things, when I was athletic director, and so I was still able to work with athletics as I had as a coach. So I worked with the coaches, I worked with the athletes, I worked with the parents. We started a parent booster club, so I really enjoyed that work. But at the same time, we always had to remember that the great majority of the students were great kids. I mean, we had a small group that were struggling and we were having discipline problems with them. But the reality was the great majority of kids at Wyandotte were really working hard. They were doing the right thing in class. They were doing the right thing outside of class. So I just enjoyed every morning before school, I would go up in front of the library. If you're familiar with Wyandotte, you know where that is. And I would just go up and stand around the library and talk to kids.
Okay.
And for about 30, 45 minutes and just, how are you doing today? How are things going? And it was just, a chance to talk to some different kids besides the ones that were having issues.
Right.
So I enjoyed being an assistant principal. It was a great opportunity, and I really enjoyed being an athletic director too.
There's one spot in Wyandotte that I really loved, the high school, and that was in the winter they would light the fireplace.
Right.
So beautiful. Just walking in and seeing that.
It's so unique for a high school to be able to do that.
Yes.
And, the fire marshal would come in and make sure everything was set up right. But it really did create an atmosphere. And it was just the 1 week before the Christmas break, that they would allow us to do that. But it was interesting, the student reaction, the staff reaction, just to have those fireplaces going. And I can tell you it made that social hall really warm, too.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
I love to see that. Superintendent at that time.
O.L. Plucker.
O.L. Plucker.
Yes.
He had been there for a while, hadn't he?
Robin, it's interesting. Kansas City, Kansas had a very unique superintendent history. They had 3 superintendents in 86 years. The first 2 served 30 years apiece, and Dr. Plucker served for 26. That's probably unique in any school district in this country to have only 3 superintendents in 86 years.
Wow.
So OL was there from early 60s to the early 80s, again a 26-year tenure, and before he retired.
Okay. And you moved up to the personnel office or the main office.
Against my wishes.
Against your wishes. How did that happen?
Well, again, I received a call from the assistant superintendent of personnel at that time. He wanted to see me, and I had no clue what that was about. So I went down, and the director of personnel services had gone to another school district, and he wanted me to take that job. And I said, no. I really didn't want to go to the central office. I wanted to be a high school principal. And I knew there were a couple of principal jobs going to be opening up, and so I said, I really want to be a high school principal. And he said, well, you go home and talk to your wife and you think about it. So I came back a couple of days later and I said, I still don't want it. And they said, well, you really don't have a choice.
Wow.
Your assignment starting Monday is going to be up here as Director of Personnel Services. So I said, a good soldier. I said, okay. I'll be here. So against my wishes, turned out to be a great thing for me.
Interesting job.
Well, what was interesting, for 6 weeks I did nothing. I knew nothing about personnel. I sort of sat at my desk and shuffled papers around, trying to figure out what I was supposed to be doing. I had a really good secretary. She ran that department for about 6 weeks before I started figuring out what my role was. But, as over time you get into it, and I learned a lot about personnel and really enjoyed the work. Missed students in the schools.
Right.
There's just a great joy and opportunity to be in a big high school. I mean, to be in a high school like Wyandotte with it's like being in a large family, a large community. It's just something exciting and really great about that. So I really missed that. But over the years, I really began to enjoy personnel, and it was a good career move for me.
Had you ever run into some of the parents of the students working with the school district or being hired up under you?
I run into grandparents.
Okay.
Kids are like former students are old. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When you're in a community for 50 years and you're in a central office position like that, you just get to know a lot of people. You have an opportunity to meet lots of people and get acquainted and build relationships. So there aren't many places that I go in Kansas City, Kansas, that I don't, the grocery store or theater or wherever, that I don't run into somebody, former students or staff members, former parents. It's a good feeling. It's a great feeling to be able to do that.
Okay, so you got another position. Now, was that against your wishes as well?
No. The assistant superintendent for
superintendent.
personnel position, the gentleman was in that position, retired. And I had been in the job, I think, 4 years as the director of personnel services, and really did want to be the assistant superintendent. So fortunately, Dr. Plucker appointed me to that position, and that was another really good career move, and I truly enjoyed personnel work and being the assistant superintendent for personnel. It was a great job.
What did you learn from O.L. Plucker?
To really have high standards, to really think about how we can continue to improve, to think about bottom line. All of us are working for one goal, and that's to improve education for children. And sometimes when you're in the central office and you're away from that, sometimes you almost forget that there are, at that time, 20,000 students out there that we're serving. And so just accountability, high standards, working for the students, and really being responsive to the parents of the community. OL was very high in all those areas.
What made you stay grounded? How did you stay grounded?
I kept going to schools. For all those years when I was assistant superintendent and superintendent, every Friday night I went to an event. I went to a ball game, I went to a play, I went to track, whatever it was. I just made it a point that every weekend, unless I had a conflict, I shouldn't say every single weekend, but I would say probably 95% of the time on Friday nights during the school year, I went to some kind of an event. Just again to remember that, those are the students we're serving, and also to remember that there's 3,000 staff members out there. That not only the 20,000 students, but we have a responsibility to provide good quality for those staff members too. So I just enjoy going out and seeing the kids perform and talking to staff members. And of course, again, being in the district for 40 years, I knew a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so every school I would go into, there would be friends and relationships. So
And I'm sure they received you well.
Yeah, it was, again, you build those relationships, and you work well together, and you trust each other, and you respect each other, and that builds for a good organization that can really serve kids and staff well.
Okay. We're going to take another short break.
Okay.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about the superintendent position.
Okay.
And if you were forced to take that one as well.
No, I was not.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back with Dr. Ray Daniels in just a moment.
Did you know that the average Social Security benefit is only $780 a month?
I didn't know that.
Did you know that most people will spend 20 years in retirement?
I didn't know that.
Did you know that a 40-year-old who saves $20 a week can have $75,000 when they retire?
I didn't know that.
There's a lot you might not know. To get free information about savings, visit our website or call this number.
I know what to do now.
Hi, welcome back to Conversations. We're here with Dr. Ray Daniels of the Kansas City, Kansas Community College Board of Trustees. Okay, we ended up with the superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any aspirations of being the superintendent prior to O.L. Plucker retiring?
Not really. I don't know. Some people have that aspiration. I really didn't. I never considered myself a superintendent. I think wasn't sure it fit what I like to do. But again, that evolved, and when Dr. Hensley retired, who there was two superintendents between Dr. Plucker and me.
Okay.
When Dr. Hensley retired in '98, I guess it was, I really decided that I was interested in being superintendent. The KCK School District had a lot of things going on at that time. We had a huge reform effort that was wall to wall across the district, and I really felt like that we needed to continue that reform effort. And my concern was if a superintendent came in from outside, that he or she would bring another program or another reform effort. And the staff didn't need that, and the student body didn't need that. And so I applied to be the principal, superintendent, and thankfully the board appointed me the position. So I was superintendent then for 7 years.
Was it anything that you thought it would be, or was it more than what you thought it would be?
It was very time consuming. The superintendent's job was a 24/7, 365. It's a very time consuming position. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. The one thing that I wasn't sure I would enjoy was the political part, the lobbying, the smoozing that you might say. I was never very good at that, still not. But I really did enjoy getting out and meeting people, working with the staff, working with the parents, working with the community, and always trying to improve the school district. So as far as the work was concerned, I had worked closely enough with the superintendents to know what the job entailed. The thing that was different was we were just starting this reform effort I mentioned, and putting that in place and getting that going was pretty stressful at times. But we persisted, the board persisted, and we ended up getting it in place. It's made a great deal of difference. I'm very proud of the fact that we put that reform effort in place, and it's still going on.
Okay. Were you still able to get to the games on
Every
Friday nights?
Every Friday night. I still, unless I had some other kind of conflict or out of town, I went to something every Friday night. Again, it's important that the central office staff be grounded, as you put it, and remember that you're not working in isolation. You have these students and this staff and this community that you're serving. And so I just thought it was important to do that. Plus the fact I really enjoyed it. I loved athletics. It was fun to watch the kids participate and compete. So it wasn't a burden for me to do that. And it wasn't all athletics. I went to plays. I went to music concerts. It was just two things. One, it was important for me, but I think it's also important for the school district to see the superintendent supporting those kind of activities.
I agree.
So I think there was a symbolism there also, but the reality was I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the seeing those things happen.
I remember, and I went to Quindaro Elementary.
Okay.
And Mr. Glass was our principal, and I just remember our reaction when he walked through the classrooms and the pods as they have it there. We were also happy to see him, so I'm imagining that was the reaction that some of the teachers, staff, and students had when you
It really makes a difference
attended.
for the superintendent to be visible, and not just the superintendent, but the central office leadership, that the staff and the students don't think of you up there in that ivory tower separated from us, but they realize the role in this working together.
That's great. You also had a very good friend of the show as your supporting person, and that was Mr. James White.
James White. I had a great team of assistant superintendents and executive directors and directors. James was a cog in that wheel because he was the assistant superintendent for student services, which meant that every student that had a complaint or every parent had a complaint ended up in James's office.
Right.
And he just had a unique ability to work with people. And when they left his office, many times their problem had been solved because James was a great listener. So now the one thing that young superintendents need to learn is you can't do it by yourself. You really have to have a strong team around you. And so part of the role of a good superintendent or a good leader is building that strong team. And I had a team like that really was supportive.
That's great. Sadly, you decided to retire.
I did.
After
40 years.
4 years, okay.
40 years.
40 years. Yeah. What made you come to that decision?
Well, my wife had been a teacher in the school district, and she had retired 2 or 3 years earlier. And we started thinking at that time about life after work, and just sort of set a goal 40 years. That 40 years was a milestone for me, and I thought that's a long tenure. I was very pleased and proud of a lot of things that we had done in the school district. The reform effort was in place. It was probably a good time to make a change in leadership, and so it was hard. It was really a difficult decision because I was really enjoying the work when I left, and that's a good way to leave. I still felt like I was effective. We were doing good things. But I have to tell you, I haven't regretted 1 minute. I have really enjoyed retirement. It's a great life. I keep busy doing other things, but it's a great life to be retired.
One of the many, many, many awards that you've received came from right here.
Yes.
And that was it after retirement?
It was the
You were
year after I retired.
you were inducted into our Mid-America Education Hall of Fame. What did that feel like?
It's really one of my proudest moments, and I have that at home in a prominent place. It's one of those things you don't anticipate happening. I had been to the Hall of Fame dinners and had seen a number of people enshrined in that, and it's really a great opportunity to recognize people, but you don't really ever see yourself, actually being in that Hall of Fame. So I was very very honored when they did it, and it was very meaningful then. It's still a very meaningful award, and I enjoy going down the hallway and looking at all the pictures.
Right.
And I'm really honored and humbled to be in that group of people, because some great people on that wall.
Okay. And today,
Yes.
you are chairman of the Kansas City, Kansas Community College's Board of Trustees.
Yes, I am.
And you guys just made a historic decision,
We did.
and that was to hire our first African American and woman president.
Yes.
What was that process like? Because you've hired a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I really am pleased with the process, Robin. The board set a goal early after Dr. Burke retired, or noticed he was going to retire in January. We decided we really wanted to get a person hired by July 1. Many people in organizations said, you can't do that. It's going to take you longer than that. But the board really worked, put the time in. We hired a consultant. We ended up with 67 applicants, which was a phenomenal number. That number was whittled down to 21 or 22, I don't remember which. And the board came together and knocked it down to 9. And those were 9 really, really top candidates. I mean, we were very impressed with the quality. It was very hard to get it down to 3, but we wanted to get it to 3, and so we did. And they were good. I mean, they were great candidates. Any one of them probably could have done the job. But we are really, really pleased to have Dr. Givens joining us, and I'm confident she's going to be a real asset, not only to this college, but to this community.
And we can't wait to meet her. I didn't get a chance to meet her when they took her on the tour through the campus, but I'm certainly going to ask her to be a guest on the show when
Absolutely,
she comes aboard.
you want her on here early. She will be working very hard those first few months to get to know this college and get to know this community. I know she very much wants to just walk around and talk to students and talk to staff, talk to faculty, and just really get into this college. So I think I know she's a very open person, very friendly, outgoing person. I think people are going to really like her, and I think she's going to be really good for this college.
I'm very happy I'm sad, of course, that Dr. Burke decided to retire, but
Dr. Burke,
happy.
for 19 years was a tremendous president of this college. Many, many good things happened while he was here, and the board recognized that by naming him President Emeritus and naming the new tech school after him.
Correct.
But Tom made a decision, too, with his wife to retire, and so he will be very hard to replace. But we're confident Dr. Givens is going to be every bit as good as Dr. Burke and really help this college continue to move forward.
Well, we're very proud of the Board of Trustees.
Thank
and
you.
As chairman, I want to say congratulations. You guys did a wonderful job.
Yeah, we're kind of patting ourselves on the back. We think we've done really well with this with the whole search process. We involved the community in the interview process. We involved staff and students, faculty in the interview process. We had a survey of people, so we got lots of feedback. That was extremely helpful to us in making our final decision. But finally, it was the 7 board members, and we were unanimous in hiring Dr. Givens.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Daniels, for
Thank you for having
visiting
me,
us
Robin.
with
I
today.
appreciate it. Enjoyed the conversation.
We certainly enjoyed the conversation as well.
Thank you.
And good luck to you, and hopefully good things are coming out of the Board of Trustees meetings in the
The future of this college is very bright. We're very optimistic about the direction this college will be going in the next few years. Looking forward to it.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next time on Conversations.